Right now in News 3 Live, team coverage as a second snowstorm hits southern Wisconsin.
The state of our state is that we have work to do, and we're ready for bipartisan solutions.
And just weeks after taking office, Governor Tony Evers delivers his first State of the State address. His message and the Republican response straight ahead.
This is News 3 at 10.
A second snowstorm in less than a week. It's steadily coming down right now, and it won't stop for several hours, once again burying southern Wisconsin in a fresh layer of snow. Thank you for joining us tonight. Well, just like last week's storm, this will be followed by bitter cold with wind chills dropping well below zero.
But for tonight, the snow will be the major factor with a chance to see upwards of 5 to 10 inches by the time it's all done. Once again, team coverage of this storm, meteorologist Dana Fulton on the backyard patio. Rock County reporter Adam Duxter along Milton Avenue in Janesville, keeping an eye on the road conditions. But we start with Dana and our first alert forecast.
We are expecting the snow to just continue for us overnight, so roads being a little slick outside to start off your Wednesday morning. Definitely plan ahead with that morning commute because the snow isn't going anywhere anytime soon. As you can see downtown right now, we have that light fluffy snowfall just continuing for us. Our Doppler track bringing the snow in just in the last few hours, and it continues to track through southern Wisconsin. We do have rain and some freezing rain down into northern Illinois. Thankfully, that line is still staying pretty far to the south. That's where we want it to stay. We certainly don't want any of that freezing rain to mix up towards southern Wisconsin. If we can stay just in the snow range, that of course makes cleanup much easier, and the roads a little easier to clean up as well. Because of the snow overnight, we do have winter storm warnings throughout the area. To the west, they'll be expiring at about 9 o'clock in the morning, and then for central and eastern southern Wisconsin, it'll go until noon as the snow will taper from west to east throughout the morning. Because of this, we do have an alert day in the forecast. We're going to leave it in for tonight and for early Wednesday morning. Snowfall tonight will be adding up for another 3 to 5 inches, and overall storm totals will land anywhere from 5 to 10 inches by noon on Wednesday. So we've already picked up a few inches for parts of Grant County and Sauk County. I've seen reports of anywhere from 2 to 3 inches. We'll see a little more tonight and then a little more to start off the day tomorrow. Right now it's close to 23 in Madison. It feels a little closer to 18 degrees. That wind chill is going to be a huge factor for the end of the week. So keep that in mind. Behind the snow, it is going to be quite cold outside. But we'll take a closer look again at the snow totals and the wind chills that are ahead for the end of the week in just a few minutes.
Dana, thank you. Several communities have declared snow emergencies, some even lasting into Thursday. Madison, Stoughton, Sun Prairie, Janesville, Beloit, and more than a dozen others are on the list. All of that information with the specific times and regulations can be found on channel3000.com. And just like last weekend, the roads are in rough shape again. Plows have been focusing on the main thoroughfares, so side streets can be very slippery.
And we take a look now at Wisconsin's 511 road map from the DOT. All of the main highways in the Madison area are pink or blue, and that means snow-covered and slippery stretches as well. Rock County reporter Adam Duxter now in Janesville with a look at the road conditions there and what you should do if you find yourself in a predicament. Adam?
Well, Eric and Charlotte, you know that the highways like the Beltline and 3990 are going to be a top priority when the snow starts to fall. But police in Janesville say that it's those side streets where you can see crashes, stall outs, and spin outs. And they say it's for that reason that you should have a game plan should you find yourself in need of help.
For the second time in 4 days, the city of Janesville is declaring a snow emergency. The winter storm making the roads difficult for everyone, says Janesville police officer Stephen Carpenter.
It's even a hazard for us as first responders.
Carpenter says on Friday the department dealt with its fair share of winter-related calls and says on nights like tonight, if you're stuck waiting for a tow, to be patient.
They go through their list and what prioritizes and what calls for resources at a certain time. We will get there. It just may take a little bit of time due to the high call volume.
And never to leave your car.
If you're wearing dark clothing, you're nearly invisible.
And that while it might be tempting to stop and help someone,
it's difficult for human beings not to help others. That's why we do what we do.
That's not always the best thing to do.
All too often we'll see sometimes people getting, beyond their abilities, which certainly can cause some issues. And if it's one vehicle that's stuck in the snow, now we got 2 or 3 people that are stopping.
Now, Officer Carpenter is a 13-year veteran of the Janesville Police Department, which means 13 winters he's seen so far. And he told me earlier today that one of the biggest mistakes he sees is people driving distracted. And he says putting down the phone can make all the difference in getting to where you have to go safely.
Adam Duxter live in Janesville tonight. Adam, thanks.
County and city crews are trying a lower sodium diet this winter season. They are cutting back on the amount of salt they use to de-ice the roads to keep our area lakes healthier. To do that, crews are using brine, a 23% salt and water solution, and sand instead of rock salt whenever possible.
Trying to be better about this, and we're going to keep trying to be better about this because our water's at stake.
The city says while sand might not entirely clear the roads of snow, it is still safe to drive on because it adds traction.
And here is some incredible video out of Fond du Lac, serving as a reminder to slow down on the roadways. Posted on the Fond du Lac Sheriff's Department Facebook page. You saw that deputy jumping out of the way as that vehicle briefly lost control after the snowstorm. Regaining control, fortunately, no one was hurt. The snowstorm is expected to continue into the morning hours, as Dana said, and so will our coverage. You can join the News 3 morning team starting at 4:30. Governor Tony Evers is directing the Attorney General to drop out of a lawsuit against the Affordable Care Act and is calling for new funding for schools in the new year.
Lawmakers are responding to a number of announcements from Evers following his State of the State address tonight. News 3 is also bringing you team coverage of these issues that impact you. We begin tonight with Chief Political Reporter Jessica Arp, who has what Evers is proposing tonight. Jess?
Well, yeah, Evers is once again calling on lawmakers to work together to solve issues with some of the plans he calls priorities that may set him up for a fight under the dome.
The state of our state is that we have work to do, and we're ready for bipartisan solutions.
Governor Tony Evers laying out his plans for a budget that's yet to come this year, proposed to follow through on campaign promises like increases in funding for public schools, including for mental health and special needs, a tax cut for middle-class families, and a Medicaid expansion.
We have a real opportunity here, folks. And at the end of the day, Mr. Majority Leader and Mr. Speaker, health care should not be a partisan issue.
But Evers is proposing what will largely be seen as a partisan step, now directing Attorney General Josh Kaul to drop out of the lawsuit challenging the Affordable Care Act, and at the same time telling lawmakers he wants them to work off his budget rather than crafting their own and focus on common ground.
Given the challenges we face, I expect the legislature will focus on these important priorities instead of being distracted by division and preventing us from working together to get things done.
The question now is whether they can do that on the budget or on other issues, especially after Republicans are raising concerns about the ACA lawsuit withdrawal and measures that were passed during the lame duck session. Our political reporter, Rose Schmidt, talked to Republicans about their reaction to this speech and, of course, more on that issue in particular.
Yeah, so we asked Attorney General Josh Kaul to weigh in on that lawsuit, specifically how the lame duck legislation passed last year would affect his ability to withdraw from it.
We will be, as we consider this issue and act in accordance with the law, that's obviously a relevant piece of legislation that will be pertinent to our analysis.
Republican leaders told us they are disappointed in the overall tone Governor Evers took tonight. They're questioning how they would pay for many of the plans Evers laid out, with Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald warning him to give up on his plan to expand Medicaid. They too are questioning the legality of asking Kaul to drop out of the ACA lawsuit.
One of the first things out of the gate that he directed the Attorney General to do was to violate the law and to withdraw from the ACA against state statutes. So that's concerning to us.
Probably a better question for the Attorney General. I'm not sure what Josh Kaul is going to do now, because it's kind of put him in a strange place. We'll see if I don't know what impact it'll have ultimately.
Republicans have suggested in the past that they plan to craft their own state budget instead of using the one Evers proposes. But Representative Steinecke said tonight they will wait and see what Evers introduces in the coming weeks. And while Republicans are concerned that Evers chose to focus tonight on what they're calling partisan issues, Democrats are applauding Evers' efforts, calling it a new era in Wisconsin.
Rose Schmidt and Jessica Arp reporting at the state capitol tonight. Thank you both.
A measure that would guarantee insurance coverage for people with pre-existing conditions is headed for the state Senate. It cleared the Assembly earlier today. Republicans amended it to meet some, but not all, of Governor Evers' demands, including eliminating yearly and lifetime caps. The chamber passed the bill 76-19. It's unclear whether the Senate will vote on the measure or if Governor Evers would sign it. The White House moving forward with plans for President Trump to deliver his State of the Union speech next week in front of a joint session of Congress, despite a letter from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi requesting he delay it. In the letter, Speaker Pelosi suggested the president either deliver next Tuesday's speech in writing or postpone it until after the partial government shutdown ends, citing security concerns.
It appears roughly 800,000 federal workers will be missing a second paycheck this week. The payroll deadline is at midnight Eastern time tonight. There also seems to be no movement towards reopening the government, with both sides refusing to budge. Representative Mark Pocan says he and other lawmakers will be withholding pay as a way to show solidarity for those federal workers about to miss that paycheck.
He says again this week the House of Representatives will introduce new bills to reopen every agency in the government.
What we're saying is there's no reason to close down the IRS or close down any other federal agency while we're fighting over funding for border security or for a wall. That's not a responsible way to have government. Other major democracies don't do that. There's no reason we should.
Congressman Pocan spent part of the day touring Dane County Regional Airport, talking with some of the federal TSA workers there, along with air traffic controllers who are currently working without pay. He says overall morale is good, and the airlines that fly out of Madison have actually been buying food for the workers. The Supreme Court has voted 5-4 to allow the Trump administration to keep transgender people out of the military while challenges to the policy make their way through the lower courts. The president tweeted back in 2017 that the military would not allow transgender individuals to serve in any capacity, reversing an Obama-era policy. The Pentagon maintains the policy is not a ban on service by transgender persons and said it is critical that the department be allowed to implement personnel policies it determines to be necessary.
The Los Angeles teachers' strike is almost over. Leaders from the teachers' union and the school district struck a tentative deal today, likely ending the heated battle. The deal was reached after a marathon 21-hour negotiating session that ended early this morning. The district superintendent says the deal includes a 6% raise for teachers and a gradual decrease in class sizes over the next few years. Still ahead tonight, after tonight's snow comes another bitter cold stretch.
We'll have a look at your extended first alert forecast when News 3 at 10 returns. Stay with us.
Welcome back. You can see the effects of the recent cold snap around the Midwest and Northeast.
Yeah, check it out. Niagara Falls in New York. The river has ice floating in it. The rocks and areas below the falls are covered in white. The trees around the falls, snow and ice covered as well. And so are the sightseeing binoculars there. But the falls are still flowing. It is not fully frozen, something a state park spokesperson there says you won't see happen often anymore.
You know, they froze back in the early 1900s and the 1800s, but with the creation of the power, the New York State Power Authority generating plant, it doesn't happen anymore. It just can't happen. So in some cases in the past couple of years when it's been really, really, really cold all winter, you almost don't see the water flowing, but it is flowing behind the ice and the stone.
Earlier on News 3, our Jamie Perez showed us tricks you can use on your car during a storm. Things like scraping ice off your windshield with a credit card if you don't have an ice scraper, or putting plastic bags over your side view mirrors to protect it from the ice, and even placing your car mat underneath your tires if you ever get stuck in the snow. A full list of other winter hacks can be found on our website, channel3000.com.
All right, Dana joins us now with the very latest on what's happening outside, what we can expect in the hours and days ahead. Dana?
So what we're looking at right now isn't just flurries, it's continual snowfall. And because of this, we do have winter storm warnings in effect throughout southern Wisconsin. Now, these warnings will actually expire at different times tomorrow at 9 o'clock to the west and at noon for central and the eastern southern Wisconsin because the snow is going to actually taper from west to east early in the morning for us. To the north, winter weather advisory is in effect, and to the south, same goes for Chicago down into central Illinois. The snow is just continuing to push through. We've had almost nonstop snow for the last several hours in Madison. In parts of Grant County, we're getting reports already of 2.5 to 3 inches, and we're just expecting more accumulation throughout this evening and a little extra into Wednesday morning also. So do plan on a very slow commute tomorrow and a very snowy commute also if you do have to hit the roads fairly early. This is all as an area of low pressure continues to track just south or through the southern portion of the Midwest, bringing rain throughout southern Illinois into Indiana, Missouri, stretching into Kentucky and Tennessee now. Notice though, for us, we are just north of that freezing rain line, and that's the way we want it to stay overnight. It looks like right around midnight, it may come close, just flirting with the line for us. But the further south we can keep it, the better that gets. As you can see, it starts to drift north as that low pressure moves further east. But again, it does look at this time that it is going to stay out of here, and that's the best case scenario for us. Any freezing rain is going to lead to ice problems. Of course, that makes the sidewalks much more dangerous and makes cleanup much more difficult tomorrow. So if we can have just snowfall throughout southern Wisconsin, that's the best case scenario for us. By early Wednesday morning, even throughout Illinois and into Indiana, as that rain pushes further east, they will be looking at all snowfall as well, and our snow will slowly taper off later in the morning and into the early afternoon. So a little closer look early in the morning, our temperatures actually holding pretty steady, close to 20 degrees, will only drop into the upper teens. We continue to see light snowfall again throughout the area, and the further north you go, those snowfall totals are going to decrease and steadily become just a dusting for the northern tip of Wisconsin. By Wednesday morning, we actually have a little bit of a tapering effect. Some flurries still lingering for us closer to noon for the western and central areas. For the eastern side, may still have some light snowfall right around noon. May see a little bit of lake effect snow for the early afternoon, but slowly the cloud coverage is going to pull away and we'll get a clearing for us later in the evening. As far as if we'll actually see sunshine later in the evening, it may happen to the western side, but most of us still dealing with the clouds clearing out of here. Overnight on Thursday, we have a clearing sky. And for Thursday, plan on a variably cloudy sky and the kickoff to our cold weather. We are going to start off Friday and Saturday quite chilly. Snowfall totals from this event anywhere from 5 to 10 inches expected, with some areas maybe even getting just a little more than 10 inches because we have a very steady trend of consistent snowfall overnight, and then there's that drop off as we head into tomorrow morning. Really, it is just a snow threat for us. Even tomorrow morning, we have a bit of a breeze picking up, but the wind really doesn't affect our temperatures until Friday and Saturday morning, as our wind chills to start off Friday will be close to -35, and to start off Saturday close to -30. So there it is. One of our models pulling in -40 for us for early Friday morning. So plan ahead. Once we get through the snow, you're certainly going to need to bundle up. 18 is what we're looking at for our overnight low tonight. 22 tomorrow with that snow early in the morning and then clearing later on late in the day. As we look at our 7-day forecast, temperatures will drop quite a bit and stay there. We will stay very cold for the next several days after the snow event into the weekend and the start of next week. Those alert days for Friday and Saturday, again, are because of the cold temperatures we will be experiencing early in the morning.
Badger men's basketball team hoping to move on in the right direction after Saturday's big win against Michigan. Story coming up in sports.
So what's going to be the future name of Miller Park? How about AmFam Field or the Dream Bank or Jack Salzwedel Park at American Family Insurance Stadium? Well, that wouldn't fit in a business card, but Miller Park will get a new name in 2021 because American Family Insurance will take over the naming rights for the Brewers Stadium when the current arrangement with Miller Coors runs out in 2 years. AmFam has agreed to a 15-year naming rights deal again starting in 2021. The new name for the stadium will be announced later, but AmFam's sponsorship in the state's sports teams, the Badgers, the Packers, and the Brewers, is pretty big.
I think it was thought that that Miller would stay here, and we kind of thought that as well. And through the course of this fall and working together, we thought that there might be an opportunity for American Family, and there did become an opportunity. We have a long history with the Brewers that goes back to American Family Night at County Stadium, some signage in the park, and this really caps a great long relationship with the Brewers.
Yankees reliever Mariano Rivera is the first player to get 100% of the votes for election of the Baseball Hall of Fame. 652 saves, a lifetime earned run average of 2.21. In the postseason, he had an ERA of 0.70. Again, the first unanimous election to the Baseball Hall of Fame. 4 players get in it today, thanks to the Baseball Writers of America. In addition to Rivera, pitcher Roy Halladay, designated hitter Edgar Martinez, and another former Yankee pitcher, Mike Mussina, are elected. Curt Schilling, the closest to getting in after that, with 60% of the vote. Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds, both named on 59% of the ballots. Not everyone thought the Badger men's basketball team could beat undefeated and second-ranked Michigan last Saturday at the Kohl Center. Now they play a game everyone expects they'll win. It feels like the Badgers righted the ship with that court-storming win against the Wolverines. Tomorrow night at 8 in Champaign, they face an Illinois team they've beaten 13 straight times and 6 in a row in Champaign. And Illinois has only one Big Ten win this season. Seems like it's your classic trap game for the Badgers, but they're not focused on Illinois. They're focused on their own effort.
The biggest thing for us is that we don't want any complacency to spread throughout the team. You know, that started with our lift and then into our film session and then into practice. So I think we've done a good job of it so far. You know, not riding that win too long. You know, that ended the night of the game.
Every Big Ten game is a big one. So we're just focused on this next one, and then we're going to continue to build off of what we did on Saturday.
So how did Michigan respond after losing its first game at the Kohl Center Saturday? Well, it did down to the wire against Minnesota, tied at 57. The shot is blocked, but Charles Matthews is there for the win. Good. And after review, it really is good. Final score, Michigan 59, Minnesota 57. And the next Prep Mania game of the week is Thursday night. Boys basketball in the Big 8. Madison East looks to rebound from its first loss of the season. The Pergolders play at Madison Memorial. John Boyle and I will bring you the game live on channel3000.com Thursday night at 7:15. And we'll be right back.
Dana's here with more on the snow.
And we are going to continue to see snow. More and more of it overnight. And for tomorrow, totals will land in between 5 and 10 inches of accumulation by noon on Wednesday. And then notice after we get through the snow event, we have a very, very cold into the week. Alert days in the forecast for Friday and Saturday because of the bitterly cold temperatures. But of course, the focus right now is still the winter storm warning in effect for tonight and the snowfall that is going to continue on. Plan ahead for your Wednesday morning commute. Give yourself extra time because the road's certainly going to be slick outside early in the day.
And keep an eye on school watch as well. Thanks for joining us for News 3 at 10.
Do something good, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Making plans that are weather dependent? Get an accurate 12-hour, even a 10-day forecast. Download the Channel 3000 First Alert Weather app and start planning.